Alright, y'all, we're gonna do a movie called Flight, boy. So basically about this dude named Will, we call him Captain Whitaker. Everybody calls him Flip, or Whip, whatever we want to call him. Bottom line is, that's what he is. He's in a situation where he smashes one random chick in a hotel, whatever like that, and he's gotta get prepared for a flight. Then his ex-wife, Deanna, ends up calling him and talking about we need some money to bring for our son, you know what I'm saying, to get like private school and this shit. Now his son is named after him, calling him Will, but his real name, his nickname calls him Knuckles. Basically, he's not trying to give her the full money on the fucking private school, whatever like that. They think it's just trying to screw him out of money for child support and shit like that. So basically, he's about to get ready for his flight. Now we found out he's actually a full-fledged pilot for this airline called Southwest 227. And then flying from Orlando to Atlanta, basically Florida to Georgia. Now his ex-wife actually lives in Georgia. Now we get this scene from this girl named Nicole. Now she's been struggling, you know what I'm saying, trying to pay her rent because she owes like $1,100. She gotta go through trials and tribulations with her building manager, Frank. And then she goes to this porn director to make sure that she can get some drugs or whatever like that. But the thing is, he gives her some strong shit, you know what I'm saying, because he feels her or whatever like that. But he really wants her to get in the porn industry, but she ain't about that life. So basically he tells her like, look, do not put this needle in your arm. If you're just gonna smoke, you're gonna smoke it because this shit is too powerful. Don't inject this shit in your veins. So she goes back to her apartment. Once again, like I said, she owes $1,100 because she's been back on back rent for like the last 2 months. The dude Frank comes through, busting in there, whatever like that. She does her thing to get him out of there. But thing is, she bumps into this like treasure chest case. It turns out treasure case does have a needle in it, and she starts thinking about it. I'm like, oh shit. She ends up injecting it in her arm, and she ends up damn near ODing. And the guy Frank comes back to make sure she's good, whatever like that. Bottom line, he ejects her into the hospital. Now, when it comes to Will, he's about to fly this plane. It's like 9 a.m. in the morning, whatever like that. He's got to go through multiple different types of turbulence and all this other shit. Now, the thing is, he has a new co-pilot by the name of Ken Evans, my bad, you know what I'm saying? So with that situation, everything comes through clear after they fly through, whatever like that. Then all of a sudden, the hydraulics mess up and they gotta do a nosedive. He's like, oh shit. So he gotta do everything he can to be like, all right, we gotta dump the fuel. We gotta turn the plane upside down. We gotta do all this other type of shit. Bottom line, he lands the plane safely as he's supposed to land it. Bottom line is he ends up crashing into a church or whatever like that. It takes out the white ring. And the plane ends up landing on the ground. Bottom line is he wakes up back in the hospital. He wakes up to this dude by the name of Charlie Wilson. Now, Charlie is a guy that probably helped him to get his like piloting license to begin with. Bottom line, it was 102 passengers on the plane. He was able to save 96 of them. 4 passengers died, 2 crew members died. But the thing is, in a situation like that, everybody probably would have died if they didn't get his influence and making sure everything could be turned around and do what they need to do. Bottom line, he's a definite goddamn good pilot. But the problem is, in between that, he had some vodka and orange juice bottles or whatever like that. He was drinking shit. Meanwhile, they made sure the rest of the crew didn't drink nothing. They made sure it was a dry, sober plane. Now, in between all that, he ended up doing some coke while he was dealing with the shorty Katrina or whatever like that. And before he even got on the plane at 9 o'clock. Now, why is Katrina important? Because she's one of the flight crew members that died on the plane. So all this shit happened. Now he's in the hospital or whatever like that. NTSB then came through, you know, it's in the organization. And because he's in the hospital, you think to yourself automatically, they're going to take the toxicology report. And they're going to make sure the shit get done for real. So he's in the hospital. All of a sudden, this dude by the name of Mr. Mays comes through. He's like his drug supplier and all this other stuff. He makes sure you get the right drugs in the system and everything like that. He's like, yeah, you going to be out by tomorrow. Trust and promise. Now, Will's got his left eyes already fucked up, whatever like that. They're going to make sure everything's good. But everybody's pretty much good with no broken bones and stuff, except for the 4 people that died, obviously. But he is literally the only person that could have made this shit possible. You know what I'm saying? Anybody else in this position, they'd have been done deal dead as shit. Now, the thing is with Ken Evans, the thing is like, he's like a rookie trainer, whatever like that. And he's in the position to be dealing with Will. So therefore, he ended up getting a concussion or whatever like that. But he wakes up with a concussion 2 days later. I'll explain that in a minute. So Will, basically, he needs some smokes, you know what I'm saying? Hayes gives him some smokes, whatever like that. He wakes up in a horror at night, my time. He goes out to the steps or whatever like that. And guess who he meets by the steps? Nicole. Yeah. So him and Nicole talking, you know what I'm saying? They smoke or whatever like that. Then this random dude comes out of nowhere. He wants to smoke with everybody too, but he gives them like vast knowledge about a whole bunch of other shit. Bottom line is, he's about to suffer from cancer. He's going to die anyway, but he could suffer from a very rare cancer. It's like some soft tissue type shit. And bottom line throughout all this, Will ends up getting Nicole's address and stuff like that because apparently she lives out there in Georgia too. So basically in the next couple of days, Maze makes sure that Will's going to a spot. He was like, oh, he's supposed to go to this condo, but he didn't want to go back to the condo. He wants to go to this little farmhouse. So now, what's this farmhouse located on? It's a farmhouse that his dad and his grandfather approved of. They were like crop dusters or whatever like that. Now, why were they crop dusters? Because his father was a crop duster, but it actually helped, you know what I'm saying, Will to be a pilot or whatever like that, because he actually had a plane and all this other stuff. So bottom line is with that is it was like, oh, he's supposed to sell this farmland or whatever like that, but he never ended up selling the farmland. And because he's not with his wife and his kid no more, that's another spot he wants to go to. So he wants to go back to the farmland, and that's where he's staying at right now. But what he does is he ends up like distributing all the alcohol, whatever like that, flush it down the toilet, you know what I'm saying? Just like throwing the trash, you know what I'm saying? He wants to get rid of all the alcohol in the house, you know what I'm saying? Because he's trying to sell himself right. So after he ends up doing all this, you know what I'm saying? He ends up getting a car. Maze ends up getting a better car to his own airport or whatever like that. He goes back over and he tries to find Nicole. He finds her there, you know what I'm saying? And the thing is, she's about to dip off in the car that she's about to go because she's tired of supposedly paying rent at the spot that she's at, whatever like that. But then he finds Nicole, ended up there beefing with Frank or whatever like that. He stops all that shit, and then he ends up giving Frank like $600-700 or whatever like that, as opposed to $1,100 that she's supposed to pay off, whatever like that. He's like, man, fuck out of here, you know what I'm saying? He takes Nicole up out of there because Nicole's about to dip off. Her bottom line is her car ain't working, but she still has stuff in the car. So basically, he was like, look, I'm gonna take all your stuff, you know what I'm saying? You can come live with me at the farmhouse. So she basically helps him out relaxing his knee because I think his knee is badly injured or whatever like that. He put ice on it or whatever like that. And then she starts kissing him and she ends up giving him the business. You already know what time it is. But then she got to figure out stuff on her own, you know what I'm saying? And then, you know what I'm saying, Will's got to figure out stuff too. So Will's got to meet up with Charles. He ends up meeting up with this dude by the name of Hugh. Now, he was in charge of the criminal investigation or whatever like that. But bottom line is he wants to make sure that he's on Will's side. Now, the thing is, in the toxicology reports that they take from the blood when you're in the hospital, bottom line is Will's got vodka in the system and, you know what I mean, cocaine and all that shit. So basically, they're trying to hide the toxicology reports because they realized the plane was fucked up at like 30,000 miles or whatever like that because they got the reports, you know what I mean, vacated to the people on the planes and stuff like that. So basically, Hugh's trying to help him with Will's like he's not really so sure about his allegiances and all that shit. And meanwhile, Nicole's making sure that he try to go to AA meetings and things of that nature and whatnot. But you feel like at the time, Will's not ready for all that. Yeah. But then he talks to the people at the agencies or whatever like that. They say he could possibly have 12 years of prison or basically lifetime in prison. So at that, he feels a certain type of way. He ends up going to the bar and he wants to mix some drinks with orange juice or whatever like that. So he back on his shit. So now he's at a point where he's like, basically, yo, fuck all that shit. Yo, I'm going to make sure this shit jumps off. I'm going to do what I need to do. It's so funny how John Goodman runs into this situation because you think to yourself, he looks just like he did in like The Big Lebowski. If you've seen The Big Lebowski, you know what I'm talking about. But bottom line is, that's how John Goodman approaches this scene. But he's basically like his curator, you know what I'm saying? He makes meals, he gets his medicine, he gets his drinks, he gets all that shit. So that's what John Goodman's there for. Call him Mr. Maze. So it gets to this point where Will and Nicole are not really feeling each other, whatever like that. Nicole's trying to keep herself sober and all stuff. And Nicole ends up smashing him again, but bottom line is she leaves a letter for Will. We don't see the letter, whatever. Bottom line is Nicole ends up leaving Will. So bottom line, it gets to a point where it's like, okay, he's got to get this meeting or whatever like that, right? Now the thing is, Hughes and Charlie checked out the plane and the shit was legit. The bottom line is the plane was fucked up. It wasn't in real condition. And they could scrap the 2 bottles of vodka that he mixed in the orange juice out of the way, you know what I'm saying? Now in between this time, he talked to Margaret. Now Margaret was another flight attendant or whatever like that, but Margaret has been knowing him for like the last decade. And the problem is her husband was on that plane. He ended up dying and then all this crazy shit jumped off because it was like the alliance between Will and Margaret has been waned a little bit, you know what I'm saying? So, because at the same time, she's thinking to herself, I could have been taken away with my son Trevor, you know what I'm saying? So, it gets deep. So, technically, it's a hero incident, but it's still wild, you know what I mean? So, it gets to a point he goes to see his wife and his son. The son don't want nothing to do with him. The wife don't want nothing to do with him. Ex-wife, you know what I'm saying? So, bottom line is, as soon as he leaves out of there, reporters are asking the questions. He clears it up, makes sure everything's all good and gravy, you know what I'm saying? He wants to see the family, blah, blah, blah. So then he goes to a little spot. Charlie's pissed off at him. He's like, look, enough's enough. You know what I'm saying? So bottom line is Will has no choice. He's like, look, I want to stay with you, Charlie. You know what I'm saying? I'm going to make sure I'm good. I'm straight. All stuff like that. So Charlie's like, all right. So he's been sober with Charlie for like 10 days, but they want to put him in a hotel, whatever like that. And Hughes is the one that's making sure that he's good in the hotel. Now he's in the hotel chilling, and the refrigerator is nothing but sodas, drinks, and juices and stuff like that. All types of tame stuff, you know what I'm saying? Let him eat steaks and do what he gotta do. But then he goes over next door because he hears yelling. Now he's able to open the doors next door, but there's nobody in there. He's looking out the window. Then he looks over at the refrigerator, and it's nothing but alcohol and all types of stuff in the refrigerator. So yeah, he ends up getting fucked up. They come over there. They're like, damn, they see bottles all over the place, just all messed up. Now, mind you, this is the same day he's got to go in there at 10 o'clock in the morning and deal with the fucking court systems. Boy. So Hayes gets him over there. He straightens him up. He gives him some, like, cocaine. He gets them all straightened up in his life, whatever like that, supposed to be straightened up in his life, and gets them straight as much as he can be to go into the courtroom. It's some nuts. So basically, he gets in the courtroom, whatever like that. Now everything is all the evidence is being displayed to him, whatever like that. Then it gets to a serious topic when it comes to Katrina. Now basically, all the evidence has been thrown out against Will or whatever like that because they already excluded the toxicology report. But when it came down to Katrina, he had no choice but to break down, and he said he took the bottles. It was his bottles because the thing was he had 2 bottles, but they said they found 3 bottles of vodka instead of 2 in the toxicology reports. Now they're thinking to themselves, the 3rd bottle might have belonged to Katrina, but seeing Katrina's no longer around, he had some type of second thoughts in nature, whatever like that. And then he just confessed. He was like, look, I was the one that took the bottles. So basically throughout all this, he ends up getting locked up. He's been in jail for like a year and a half. He's got to be there for at least 6 years. He's been thinking about his family. He's been thinking about Nicole. But the first visit he gets within a year and a half is actually his son, Knuckles. And he needs to do a report about somebody that's been willing to take sacrifices for stuff, but has still been slotted things. And he basically wanted to do a report about his father. So therefore, his father gives him tips and everything like that. And that's pretty much the end of the movie. It's wild as fuck. Bottom line is, this is more about a movie where it's like, yo, if you're struggling with alcohol addiction and things like that, which I am, honestly, currently, you know what I mean? That's just what it is. But he had more of a position with what he was struggling with because he was, had a hostage of like 102 people like on the plane. They were all like, in combination with making sure that, yo, you got to be good because you're making sure you're having the safety of other people online, you know what I'm saying? Bottom line is nuts, you know what I'm saying? I don't want to say on Netflix because I got it on DVD, but bottom line is you could check out Flight, you know what I'm saying? Denzel Washington, check that shit out. You know what time it is laying the smack down like it's supposed to be laid. Yeah.